Is a mid-range repair for caliper signature, Duetta 2, and Duetta signature mid-ranges. First, take the front cover off of the speaker, then put the speaker face down on a padded table. Remove the wiring from the bottom of the mid-range blocks. Then remove the 4 screws that attach the mid-range to the woofer frame, located at the bottom, at the top, and midway in. You'll find the 4 screws. 1/8" Allen wrenches needed to take those screws off. Take the mid-range off of the frame, put it on a separate table on top of 2 blocks, 2 boxes, something between 3 and 4 inches tall. Turn the mid-range so the ribbon is facing up, and the first step is going to be to remove the various ribbon clamping blocks. Now, the various clamping blocks, you'll find the top mounting block has a top clamping block and a front clamping block. The bottom also has 2 clamping blocks. I'll get to those in just a moment. Remove those with a Phillips head screwdriver. I find that the motorized ones just make life easier. Keep everything orderly. Remove the foil tab carefully from the top. You want to make sure that you don't tear the foil tab at this point. Just cleaning the excess adhesive off of that. Remove the front clamping block. Just keep those off to the side, and they are different. The front clamping block, the screw holes are spaced wider than the top clamping block. Not quite obvious here, but when you're working with it, it will be very obvious. Remove both foil tabs from the right side ribbon trace and the left side ribbon trace. Make sure that you don't tear those foil tabs. They can be replaced. It's an adhesive back foil tape that is standard to Apogee products. Now, to make it easier to see the bottom, pause. And we'll take the clamps off of the bottom mounting block. This is the bottom front clamp. Usually is a good idea to make note of how the foil tabs are making contact with the ribbon. In particular, on this block, this is one of the final contacts that you'll have in finishing the mid-range. So you have a foil strip on a mounting block which goes over a screw hole, and that mates with one of the tab or one of the ribbon paths. The most important thing is that when you get to the point of putting this back together, of course, nothing is allowed to touch the center path of the ribbon. Just want to make sure that you look at this as you're taking it apart. You may see a break in the foil underneath here or something shorting out if something was previously not put together correctly. Also, again, carefully remove the foil tab from the ribbon. Make sure you don't tear it off. Turn the mid-range frame over. By the way, the magnets are very powerful, and it will have a tendency to attract metal tools. Be careful. Remove the bottom rear clamping block. I just usually push on the screws, have some leverage that way, makes life easier for taking it apart. Remove the foil tab from the ribbon center path. As you are taking the mid-range apart, you might make note of how these various contacts are made, and it will make it much easier for putting a unit back together. Generally what I say is if you're doing a pair of mid-ranges, only take one mid-range apart at a time, because you'll be able to use the other mid-range that is still built up as a reference. Now we're to the point of stripping away the old adhesive tape. This is a Anchor double-side adhesive paper tape. Very resilient. It lasts a long time and has an amazing strength for just being a double back paper tape. And do the same thing here. Sometimes I'll use maybe an X-Acto knife, one such as this, with a straight edge to it. So I can just go along here and clean off any large chunks of excess tape. Now I've gone to the top of the mid-range frame. Again, remove the foil parts of the ribbon and the double back adhesive tape. Again, it's a good idea to sometimes have that X-Acto knife nearby. It makes it easier for grabbing a hold or sliding underneath the ribbon. Been doing this for so long, you'd think I'd be able to do it with my fingernails. And next, if possible, remove the ribbon very carefully from the foam support that is about a quarter or so down from the top of the mid-range, which is siliconed to the back of the ribbon. What I found works well for this, though it's a rather nasty substance, acetone, or actually fingernail polish remover, works very well if you just put a few drops of it on the ribbon and let it slide down to the joint between the ribbon and the silicone. The silicone will release from the ribbon, and you will actually just be able to very easily pull this away. At this point, I'm going to try using a little bit of isopropyl alcohol, which you're going to need a cleaning solution to clean the contacts anyway, so you might as well have it available at this point. Just put some on the knife blade, let it slide down. Apparently isopropyl alcohol works very well for this, and it's very commonly available. It makes a very good cleaner for cleaning off the ribbon contacts. And now you can discard the old ribbon. If there seems to be an excess of silicone on the foam support, remove it. I do recommend that you not get a great deal of any nasty solvents on the foam, as the solvents will eat the foam away, and that is not a good thing. If you need to replace the foam support, though, that's what you would do at this point. Pull the old foam support out, silicone a new foam support in, making sure that as you sight from the edge of the top block, if you sight across this block, you want to make sure that this block and the top of this foam support are parallel. Again, that is done by eye, so you just want to make sure this foam support is parallel to the top block. Now the next procedure is to replace the double-sided foam at the top and bottom of the mid-range frame. And at the top, I put the tape on, starting at the outermost hole. I leave a space, probably about 1 millimeter, from the tape to the edge of the block. It doesn't need to go all the way to the edge. Burnish it down, just rub it down with the knife blade's fine. In between the holes on the top side, I could say it's the top side because this is the very top side when the mid-range is mounted. Just put some double-sided tape there. That's where your center path is going to be attached. At this point, I'll just leave the backing on the tape for safety's sake. Turn the mid-range the other way just to make it easier for the cameraman. Put this other piece of tape between the outermost screw holes again, burnish it down, roll the mid-range over. This particular point is a little different. You're going from the right innermost screw hole. You'll actually see 2 screw holes here, and then all the way over to the left side of the block as you're looking at it. Cut the tape off, burnish it down. Might as well take the backing off of this at this point, and then with the knife locate the other innermost screw hole. Mark that, or poke through that with the knife. Makes it easier when you end up putting the block on later on. At this point, you can also put this foil tab, which is on the left side as you're looking at it when working on it. You can put this foil tab back on the mounting block so that it is not covering up the innermost screw hole. Now turn the mid-range back over. And we are now to the point of putting the ribbon in. Now it's time to put the new ribbon in the mid-range structure. Start at the bottom in this case and remove the backing from the adhesive tape. Try to leave about 4 to 6 inches of extra foil at the bottom. What I do is I lightly hold it in one hand, looking down at the top. I center the ribbon between the magnets and just lay it across the adhesive tape, and then just lightly tack it in place, because we're going to end up changing the placement of the ribbon to center it. So now I have an extra tab of ribbon at the bottom. Now I'm going to lay the ribbon out down the length of the mid-range frame. Now this ribbon in particular is cut extra long, so I'm just going to lay it out across the top. And I'm still going to want to have a few inches of extra ribbon at the top to work with, so I'm going to cut it off so that it's easier to work with. Alright, now it's time to move to the top of the mid-range frame. And again, the ribbon isn't tensioned yet. I'm going to put the ribbon and just set it in place for a moment as I put the roller in place. Now the ribbon is going to end up being connected to the weight and rolling across the top of this roller. This is what puts tension on the ribbon, so you have a specific weight to use for a duetta, or one weight for a duetta, another weight for a caliper, and we have those different values in a list. Okay, now with the roller in place and a weight and a piece of foil tab, foil tape attached to it, I put the adhesive side up so that I can stick it onto the back side of the ribbon, and I try and do it in a fashion so that it's just one continuous roll. Now I can let this hang over the roller, pull the ribbon off from where I've tacked it. Now I let this weight pull on the ribbon, and that calibrates the tension on the ribbon. It also allows me to set up the centering of the ribbon. So what I'm going to do now, from the top of the mid-range frame all the way down through the channel, I'm going to sight down the ribbon at the top and the bottom. I'm going to make sure that the ribbon is straight, and I'm going to make sure that the ribbon is an equal distance from one side of the magnet wall to the ribbon and the other side wall of the magnet to the ribbon. In this case, This one's a little close. And there's a particular point on the ribbon where I'd rather have it out of sight. So I'll put that on the block, lightly tack it in place.